Okay, it's day 2. A quick recap of where we've got to. So I've removed the reflector, I've removed the bell, I've removed the pedals, I've removed the front sprocket and the associated pedal arms, and I've removed the front derailleur and the gear shifter for it. And I was about to try and take the barrel out yesterday when I realised that I didn't have the tool necessary to do it. I thought I had one, but it turns out I didn't. So I had to go and borrow one from a friend. That's who I borrowed it from last time, to when I did my bike. So this is a special tool with teeth on it, which you need to insert in there, and then that gives you something you can get your spanner onto to undo these. There's one on each side, and then you can slide the whole barrel out, which you need to do in order to put the motor on. So that is where I'm at, and I'll carry on with that now. So I need a sprig. Now we just need to get the other side out. And this side is a righty-loosey. The other side was the normal lefty-loosey. There's the other bit. Right, so now we've got an empty spindle, and now we can fit the motor. We're going to need these bits to clamp the motor on. The motor itself. Make sure we get all the bits of polystyrene. We don't want any polystyrene on the spindle bit. You see there's a few bits on there, so just have to get those out. Right, there we go. So that's all clean. Okay, so on this bike, this little plastic piece which kind of guides the rear cable for the derailleur is going to be in the way when I try and put the motor in. So I'm going to have to remove this, but in order to keep this wire from just rubbing against the frame and to let it move smoothly, where I've removed the other derailleur, I've got a piece of the sheathing from around that wire, and what I'll do is I'll thread this wire through a piece of sheathing there, like that, just long enough to go around here, and then the motor will clamp that against the frame, but then the derailleur cable can still flow through the middle of it, and then I won't need this piece on here. So I'm going to have to disconnect the wire from the derailleur at the back and undo it and unthread it through here, and then stick that in. It's cut a piece off this and stick that in there, and then that should I can re-thread it all back through, and that should let me carry on. But these are the sort of little things you might come up against when you're building one from scratch, because you just, you know, different bikes have different ways of doing things. So just loosen that off, and then what I'm going to have to do, in order to get this to come through, I have to cut the little end off, or at least pull it off, break it off. It won't really matter. There we go. Okay, so I should be able to unthread this now. Take that piece off. Like that. And then we've got a little thing for that to sit in. And then we just need to thread that back through these. Make its way back to the derailleur. Like that. Fit that back in there. And we'll clamp that in there for now, but we'll probably have to adjust that afterwards, because it won't be in the right position now to probably drill it, to keep that from moving. Right, so there you go. A nice solution to a technical hitch. So now we just need to finish sliding this in. It was tight, but it's in. Right, so got the motor on, or in. Now we need to put the brackets on to hold it in place. That's all of this stuff in this bag. So in here we've got an outer ring. There should be a piece here with teeth on it. That's to bite into the metalwork to stop the motor sort of spinning when it tries to turn the wheel. And then an inner ring which is sort of to clamp those teeth tight against the frame, and then the stuff to fix the pedals on. So first thing is this piece. And you see it's got teeth on one side and dips on the other. The teeth side you need to press into the metal on here. This is the ring that compresses the teeth against the frame. And this is where you'll need the special tool that comes with the kit to tighten this up. Don't want this to move, so I want it to be pretty tight. should do it. And then the last piece is to put the outer ring on. This is just like decorative. You don't want to do this one up too tight because I think it's just like made of aluminium or something. There isn't actually enough thingy there to get that all the way on. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't go on. It's only a thing to make it look a bit pretty. It's just not gonna, yeah, there's not enough screw thread showing to, it should just cover that really. But there just isn't enough showing. But it's in, so that's all that really matters. I'd say that bit's only to really make it look a little bit prettier. Right, anyway, that's the motor in. So now we've got to get the pedals on. Fitting it on. I'm doing up the screw which will pull it into position. That's these big screws here. So when you put that in there and you start tightening that up, that's going to pull that on until it's all the way in. So we need one like that, but before we put the one on this side, I've got to put the chain guard and the chain sprocket on. So that should put a sign in it. So let's just see if this chain certainly looks good. Yep, that's good. Chain's staying on. Looks pretty straight, so that's good. A bit of clearance there, and then we just got to get this to go on there as a chain guard. Mine hasn't got one of them. And that can be done up from that side, but I can do that at the end. Okay, so those can be tightened up. Right, there we go. So that looks nice. Now, put the pedal on. Stick that in there. Okay. Now, just need to fit the pedals back on. This is the right side of the bike, so that'll be the one that says R. But let's get the battery plate on. It's looking alright so far. Right, what sort of connection is that? That is so I've got this backing plate for these. Unless these happen to be in exactly the right place for just the battery's backing plate, which they weren't on my bike, but there's no reason why they wouldn't necessarily be the right place on this bike. So I might be able to just fit the battery backing plate directly on here, but I suspect that won't be the case. This is the battery. Matching thin film. And this battery's got an XT60 connector on it, and this Bafang motor has got just a positive and negative cable, and even though the motor does come with, I think it's in that box, a opposite cable to turn it into an XT60. There is also in the battery box an XT60 connector with tinned ends. So if you want to have a nice neat job with less wires hanging out around the bike that you have to gather up and stuff, you're happy to use soldering iron and or crimping tools and stuff, you could cut these ends off, cut this wire down a bit, and then crimp this onto the end of it to give you the correct connector straight off the bat, because in all honesty the wires on that are a bit thin. Or you could, if you've got some XT60 connectors of your own, which I have got some, I might just cut this down quite short, strip off a couple of the ends, and solder my own XT60 connector directly onto the end of it to make it a neater job. But it depends on what you're comfortable with, really. But if you don't do it like that and you just use the extension to plug these into there, you've got a lot of cable which you need to sort of gather up and cable tie out of the way or something. Just depends on how neat you want it to look. Right, so I'll put the key in here. I can separate the battery, or did I just lock it on? I've just locked it. There you go. Right, so this is the battery's backing plate, and if you're lucky, these holes would be in just the right place. But again, for this bike, they're not. See, they're just way too high. There's the two mounting holes, and you know, I can't get it on there. I could get one on there, but that's not going to give you enough stability. And that's what happened with mine. So that's why with this one I ordered this adapter bracket, which was an optional extra. That would just make life easier. On mine, I just drilled a couple of holes directly in the frame and used self-tapping screws. For this adapter plate, see, you screw that one, and then that gives you a whole load of screw holes, which you can then screw your battery onto. It just makes for a much neater interestingly, I've just noticed that on the back of here there's a couple of grooves in there, so maybe there's a way to screw those in directly, although I think that'd probably be too high. It's going to have to be down here a bit really to get the battery on, so yeah, that's going to be which way? Probably that way, because then it
sits nicer.
It sits nicer, yeah. And they do provide you with 4 screws. The ones that come with the bike are quite high. These ones are a bit more flush, so I'm trying to think what's going to be better, because this needs to be flush, and if you put it that way, then the screws will be flush. So I think it will have to go this way. Right. Screwdriver.
It's still not going to be too high.
I don't think so, but we'll see. Worst case, I have to do what I did with my bike and just drill a couple of holes, use some self-tapping screws, but now we can mount the battery just about anywhere we want, really. So we really want the battery to be about there.
Jesus. Is that going to be enough room to lift it on?
Yeah. But really, the closer you get it to the bottom, the better. And I think this fits pretty much flush. So we'll go down pretty much as... We'll try it there, and if it's too close, we'll have to... have a look at that. Let's see what it looks like. That's quite nice there. We've got it nice and central, and it's got enough space to slide up to get it off. As long as you can get it off, that's all that really matters. Right. Okay, so what's left? I've got the display, thumb throttle,
the light, and the speed sensor for the back wheel.